said it would be. Swear. Fuck you said it would be. Fuck you said it would be. Swear. 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 Has located a hidden signal under the primary channel. The hidden signal. You know me. There's been a war since before either ever even existed. You will not kill me.
Look out for Charlie.
You know me. There's been a war since before either ever even existed. You will not kill me.
Look out for Charlie.
I'm gonna bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head.
I've openly had serious issues with psychiatry's ever-growing catalog of created and voted-in mental illnesses. This catalog's called the DSM, or Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, and each new release of the DSM gets fatter and fatter, just like the people in the industry who are banking off of this, right? And the pharmaceutical industry, sitting in the shadows like a TV drama drug dealer. The main difference is that the drugs people take in TV dramas actually work, and the psychiatric medicine is a series of controlled side effects, and some not so controlled. My favorite two versions of the DSM are the DSM-1 from 1952 and the DSM-2 from 1968. These are relatively thin versions compared to the monsters that they are today, and remarkably, none of the mental illnesses even operate the same way that they did back then. It's a rolling snowball effect, with each illness picking up more and more interchangeable symptoms as time goes on. I own an extremely old Star Wars comic book, and it was passed down to me by someone I know a long time ago in an era far, far away. That Star Wars comic book is no different than the DSM-1 and the DSM-2. They are all works of fiction created for the purpose of capturing the imagination, letting the reader become immersed in the story deep enough to believe it's real, and most of all, influencing the culture of the time, having a great impact on the people's psyche and selling billions of dollars in your franchise merchandise to the public. In this case, the pharmaceuticals are the big merch train. After I exposed the fact that the DSM-1 and the DSM-2 doesn't refer to schizophrenics or anyone for that matter hearing voices or sirens or Barack Obama or Bugs Bunny, I caught a lot of flack. When I searched the PDF and the video, people tried to say I had the search turned off or that the book wasn't indexed. Quote, ha ha ha, you just have to read it, it's all there, said one email to me. They didn't realize that I had actually read these PDF versions of the DSM-1 and the DSM-2 many times. I was searching through the book in PDF format in the video to prove a point, but you can't expect people to make sense anymore, I guess. My goal was to own both books in three-dimensional paper format, but ever since I talked about these books, the DSM has jumped up from around $60 to $90 to $24,999. Because it's such a great read? No, because they want to keep people from owning documents like this. They would rather have everything digital so that they can creep in and slightly change vital information when necessary. Having paper documents and books in print format holds them accountable, and these people do not like to be held accountable about anything, especially the ever-evolving mental health narrative. And let me say this, I used to be deeply interested in psychology and psychiatry. Now, all these years later, after truly studying and researching the subject, it is so irritating to hear these parrots speak about it, it borders on painful. After a lifetime of being fed a fictitious narrative, I'm just normied out. But I would be glad to debate you about this if you have the chops and you happen to actually be one of these true believers. And I'm not talking about the equivalent of a NASA fanboy type that defend every lie NASA gets caught in without actually knowing shit about shit, or shitheads that get paid to respond to core questions with the usual talking points. I'm talking about fully educated, true believers in the mental health industry. I'll debate this all day, every day. You bring me your info and I'll bring you mine, along with some other things, and let's see how long you can keep this boat afloat. Here's a voice that says the dog will charge you once you're in the house.
Dog will charge you once you're here.
And here's a voice that says, you killed my wife. What am I getting at with this? I've been saying this for years. This system is at work, and it is driving and shaping everything around us with the mental health narrative at work. everything from pop culture to news stories to crime to everything that we see and hear about is being shaped by this audio weapon. And when people are sensitized to hearing it and they are basically on a phone call with this stuff that they cannot hang up from until they do something crazy, and then it ends up in the news, or they do murder, or they use a handgun in a murder due to being driven nuts from this stuff, and then our reality is subverted right in front of us. Now, I have to say this in every video now. This signal is everywhere, and it rides on existing infrastructure. It rides within. It is in the air, but is transduced to a mechanical vibration that rides on the existing infrastructure, including our power lines, our houses, and everything around us. It is subverting our laws, and then subverting our rights. Because of that, it is subverting everything. In this video, I'm going to show you just a tiny sliver of the subverting that it is doing on a regular basis. Now, I did a search through Google. I put in hearing voices in quotes and police next to it. I searched between January 1st, 2022 and December 31st, 2023. And then I went through everything that I found and picked out some key cases. But just what came up within a year and a half. This is at work all the time. It's not only destroying lives and destroying legacies, it is destroying our rights and destroying our country, destroying our world. You know, it went from people having schizophrenia between 15 and 25 to now people coming down with schizophrenia at 50, 65, at 45. And they just change the rules a little bit. They get in there and change the rules. That's what is so awesome about a book like the DSM, is it puts it all in print, what the rules are, and they can't go back and change it later. That's why they want everything digital, so that everything can be memory hold, subverted, and changed with the click of a button and a few keystrokes. So let's get into these results and find out what's happened within a year. And these are just a few with just the key words: hearing voices and police. That's it. We hear about this kind of stuff all the time. Here's one. I'm hearing Jeffrey Dahmer's voice, said Delco man, threatening to kill kids, says the cops. Investigators allege that Holmes made a series of disturbing 911 calls invoking dead serial killers and threatening to murder children with a shotgun from a home on Vernon Street in the South Media section of the township around 1:30 p.m. Friday, December 16th. This is artificial, but let's keep going. Arson suspect confesses of setting fire to former Portland Korean church after hearing voices, police say. The suspect allegedly told officials at the detention center that she moved to Portland from Boston about a year ago and is homeless. Blah, 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 blah. So, what is this doing? This is subverting crime. This is subverting the mental health industry. This is subverting everything. Let's keep going. Upon arrest, he told police that he was hearing voices. A few hours after he began to be questioned by police, Roderick, who is charged with the femicide of his wife Bernice, told police that he was hearing voices. But it's not just crime and everything else. This is seeping into everything. Average, everyday events. And it's tricking people into believing that things are happening around them that aren't happening. It's a sound weapon. This is a weapon of war. Now, here is how this OP Rock / Vegas incident sonic weapon is being used. It's a weapon of war, and it is being used to fuck with people in general. The signal is everywhere. And if you get a perfect storm, a situation where it creates a band shell syndrome in a building, an area, a valley, whatever, you are going to get this happening more and more. Hearing voices prompts burglary call, right? So what happens in this? Burglars that may or may not have made a miraculous escape was the subject of a Graham County Sheriff deputy's report. Deputy was dispatched to Route 366 Friday, August 18th, after a property owner said he trapped would-be burglars in his storeroom by parking his truck in front of the only exit. The property owner said that when he went inside, he heard voices which made him run out of the storeroom and immediately move his truck to block the door. The deputy, with a Safford police officer as a backup, entered the storeroom but found no one inside, nor any signs of forced entry. The owner said he must have moved too slow, allowing those burglars to escape. What is going on here? There was nobody there. I was just talking about this in a video or two ago, and then I found this. It's everywhere. It's subverting everything. They used this on Jason Klopfer. They have used this in Seattle. They have used it everywhere. Things are happening to people that aren't really happening. Man was hearing voices telling him to kill his uncle. Cannot be held criminally responsible. Now, how come these voices, if there's just something wrong with your brain and they're acting like you have a conjoined twin that's carrying on conversations within your head with you? Why is there a script to every one of these and they are all the same and they are all interchangeable? They are always interchangeable and they say the exact same things. Even people that believe they are schizophrenic and are tricked into believing there is something wrong with their frontal lobe, they tell them the exact same things. There is a script, and there are only about a dozen total scripts. It's insane. This one is great. Doctors gave her antipsychotics, and she decided to live with her voices. It's a story of perseverance. Well, I've talked about this 1,000 times in the past. What did the voices say to her? What are the normal things they said? The voices talk about surveillance. Another voice tracked her every move, its tone faintly mocking. She's getting out of bed now. Oh, she's walking down the hall now. Exactly what I've talked about before. This is one of the many scripts. Surveillance. You'd have to be insane to believe this in the first place. It is the same script over and over. Now, it's imperative that you remember I've only searched within the last year, and I'm only showing you a few of them. Here's another one. New Jersey woman hearing voices hit 7 people on New York street, police say. So here's another case of this. Killing people, causing murder. The people that implemented this weapon are actually the most prolific serial killers in history. Period. Here is how they create the line between the people and the police. Video shows 5 officers tackling mentally ill man. Experts question why. The guy was hearing voices and would not comply with the police due to his hearing voices. So they tackled him, and now it is a big line in the sand. Keeping the violence going with even a photo of a knife. Suspect stabs man to death in North Phoenix after hearing voices, police say. This just keeps going and going and going. Now, they have done a lot of hiding of this lately because it's always been person hearing voices, person hearing voices, person hearing voices. They began to call it mental health issues or mental health breakdown or whatever. Jordan Neely had a long history of mental health issues before tragic New York City subway chokehold death. He was hearing voices. Really, man? This was the most extreme symptom a schizophrenic could possibly have in the late 1960s, early 1970s, and now it's fucking everywhere. You fucking don't get enough sleep, you can hear voices. It's fucking madness. Now, going right back to one of the places where they began testing this was prison. There was a 1988 or was it 1989 case out in Utah that was right near an NSA building where a prisoner in solitary confinement began to hear voices. And these voices would comment on exactly what he was doing, where he was at, blah, blah, blah. He ended up trying to take them to court and they threw the case out. You know, and this was decades and decades ago. But here we have it again. Texas death row inmate who cut out his eyes seeks clemency. And it talks about Thomas's psychosis filled with religious delusions and hallucinations. The guy is hearing voices. And because of these voices, he gouged out his eyes. He did a bunch of crazy shit. If people realized that this was fake, that it was artificial, that it was a bunch of shitheads, that there was nothing wrong with their brain, that it wasn't demons, that it wasn't ghosts, people wouldn't do things like this. It is ignorance that is causing people to do radical things when they hear it. So it's imperative that people learn what this is all about to take the fear away. Somebody said in a comment, you know, they do this crap all the time. Somebody said in a comment just yesterday, "You got me scared, so scared." But it's not to make people scared. It's to get people educated. If you know what's up, you won't fall victim to it. Come on, man. Grow up. Here is one where the person realizes it is technology, and they're asking a question. It says inmate is their name. And it says hearing voices caused by technology from prison. So they're asking questions about this in mental health support forums like they're going to get it there. right? If this is real, they are very misled in believing that some psychiatric industry person, operative, is going to give you the right information when you are asking about something like this. So hopefully someone like this finds a channel like mine and it will lead them to understanding this a little bit more. But one out of all those over the past year, and I'm telling you this is just a sliver, but one knew that they were caused by technology. Now out of all these, this is the headliner. This is a neurosurgeon who began hearing this stuff in his home, and he believes that it's some kind of technology. He almost sounds like he believes it was audio boxes or something put in his house to create these voices. The headline is, Doctor, neurosurgeon hearing voices sparks mental health concerns. So here's the doctor explaining what's going on.
Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
Good, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm a look. I think I saw you yesterday, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I'm here because I think there's some kind of voices I was hearing yesterday. So, so I'm thinking there's some kind of like voices which is coming from either like from the upstairs. I usually sleep in the basement.
Okay.
And I work as a neurologist in Idea. So even in my rooms, sometimes the voices are...
Okay, I was wrong. He's a neurologist. He's a neurologist hearing voices in his house. A neurologist. It's almost like a twisted joke, right? Like, figure this out, guy. So he's hearing this shit in his house, and now he's going to have a mental health strike on his record. Think about this. Think about what is going on. He's a neurologist, begins hearing voices. The guy's probably what? Look at him, 45, 50 years old. Come on, man. Come on. Look at all these cases, put them together. This is just a sliver, a tiny portion of what I found, of what has just happened in the last year. This is happening in every city, in every little town. And now it's becoming normalized. This is how they normalize it. This is how they normalize a phony mental health Gestapo land. And it's all artificial. And if you believe it, you are being herded down a cattle chute. A cattle chute that can only end in bad things. And that's it for now. Look out for Charlie.
We must fight to regain our freedom, or everything is lost. Everything!
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
For Charlie.